So let's kick it in gear and let's talk about Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly was terminated, and he had a massive contract. It was a 10-year deal. So when these schools sign these coaches for 10 years or anywhere close over 5 years, you would think that they're thinking in the long term of keeping this coach that amount of time, at least from my perspective. Unfortunately, a lot of people and a lot of support mechanisms for schools, like the fan base and the administration and people who, fund the program, because a lot of these programs are funded by private donors. Some, programs are funded by other means, but it's usually the alumni that come back and they put money into the program. And I know a little bit how it works because they ask you to donate. The more you donate, the more closer you can get to the program. And if you're a top-notch donator, you can sit and have dinner with the coaches. You can meet the president of the schools. You can pretty much parlay what you want. Let's just say you kick down $1 million to any program of your choice.
You might just fly on a plane with them, DC.
Exactly. And you can fly on the plane with them because that has been proven fact as well. We've had some background experience on that. So I want to start out with you, Isaah, and ask you, okay, so Brian Kelly, it's been sourced that it's been alleged that Brian Kelly does not want to negotiate any type of settlement below that $54 million. Do you think it's fair that he should settle with LSU, or he should keep his $54 million? By the way, until 2031, he'll be on payroll.
Well, they got to honor the contract, DC. You know how that works. And if they want to do any penny less than that, that's immoral. You signed a contract, and that was to buy this guy in for 10 years. And if you chose to pay him, you didn't quit. If he would have quit, that's one thing. But if you fired him, you're the one breached the contract. You're the one fired the guy. So pay this man every single penny you owe him. And if you need to go replace him with somebody else, that's on you because you fired him. Don't bend or break Brian Kelly. Don't bend.
I totally agree. And we're talking directly to Brian Kelly on this show. You get your $54 million. That's your money. They signed that contract. I don't want to hear about who said that the AD shouldn't have signed for this amount of money. It was a 10-year, $95 million contract. Brian Kelly is due $54 million. That money he should be on payroll until 2031. So Najee, I'm going to go to you next. Does Brian Kelly deserve to get every penny of this money?
Well, just like you guys said, man, I mean, if they breach it, why is he going to take the penalty? I don't want to take no penalty because guess what? They're going to make the money regardless, and they're going to give it to somebody else anyway. So go ahead and get this man his money that he deserves. And that's all really what it is, man, because you're not going to take it unless the only way that was going to happen is unless they was going to try to give him more years and then he take a little less or whatever. But other than that, if you're going to fire him and get rid of him, no, you're going to get that man his money, get what he's due and what y'all both came to an agreement on.
Yeah, because if you look at the terms of any type of contract, and a contract is considered binding, and binding in the terms that once two people or a group of people or however many people is involved sit down and they agree to a contract, they put it in writing. And once they put it in writing, it's a signature-based contract. Sometimes you can get verbal contracts, but verbal contracts usually is not very advisable because anything can happen. People could say, look, I didn't tell you this, or I didn't say that I was going to commit to this. But when you have a signed contract and the language in the contract is specific language, right?
And witnesses and notaries and everything
Absolutely.
else got to be, yeah.
So whatever the AD does, and this AD has been linked with Texas A&M. He was at Texas A&M and he helped sign Jimbo Fisher to a $75 million plus contract with all of the other little, incentives around this particular contract. And Texas A&M had to eat a lot of that money, majority of it. I think they had to pay out Jimbo Fisher the whole amount. But that doesn't matter whether this athletic director was involved in that transaction or not. He was involved in the transaction at LSU of pulling Brian Kelly out of Notre Dame. And Brian Kelly was happy at Notre Dame. He wasn't I didn't see him, throwing his name out there every coaching opening. Did you guys see him throw his name in it, the head of every coaching
Have not
opening?
seen one.
You couldn't ask
Have
for a
not
better
seen one,
job
DC.
than to have that Notre Dame job and that Florida State job. So those are the two most enticing jobs, I would say, for a college football coach in coaching, and USC, of course, because these programs have a lot of history behind them. But one thing is for sure, if LSU refuses to pay this money out that they owe this man, they're going to be sued. And once they get sued, they're going to have to go to court. And then a judge will determine whether Brian Kelly is due this $54 million because he did not ask to get fired. He did not, as far as I could see, I don't think he did anything specific to get fired. They were having a bad year. So they pulled the trigger on him. They pulled the plug on him. And they're on the hook once they do that. And that's just all I'm going to kind of leave it at, because at the end of the day, it's all based on decisions from the school. I don't care what the school has to pay.
I don't think he's going to go that far, though, DC. I don't think they're dumb enough to take this guy to court. I don't think they're dumb enough to take Brian Kelly to court. And I'm going to tell you why. You take him to court, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You are gonna lose.
You're gonna lose.
Now you're gonna get caught with legal fees and all of that stuff, and those legal fees aren't cheap. So they're not gonna take him to court. What they're doing right now is just playing a cat and mouse game with him and see if he'll go for it. But if I was you, Brian Kelly, I would let it drip, drip, drip. Even if you go to the 2031, give me all my money. If you got to pay me in installments, give me my money. And that's how it all is going to play out. And I guarantee they're not taking him to court, DC. He's not going to have to sue him for his money.
Well, according to this, and this is just alleged information here coming from sources, basically LSU, I guess, is trying to claim now that they fired him for cause. And cause is a different. Now, when they fire people for cause, they can pretty much kind of, negotiate to the level that, he might not be able to get the entire amount. But what is cause? I mean, did you fire him because he was losing and the team wasn't performing on the field? Or did you fire him about a scandal? Or did you fire him about something that he broke rules at the school, and that kind of, makes the contract come down to the level where they can dictate how much they want to pay him going out the door? Wouldn't you say that, Isaiah?
Yeah, but that's a bogus cause. They fired the guy because they wasn't satisfied with his record, and that's point blank. And there's no other way to put it, DC. And they ain't gonna have to pay the guy. I mean, they can bring up all these new slippery stuff that they're bringing up right now. It ain't gonna hold up in court, man.
No.
I mean, it's just not gonna work. And they need to go ahead and quit playing and get a guy his money, let him go on about his business, and
bring in the next coach and sign him to a $90 to $100 million contract, right?
Yeah, but what they're trying to do is use part of his money to pay the next guy, and that ain't gonna happen because Brian Kelly need to stick to his morals and don't even move. Just steadfast, Brian Kelly. You're going to get all what's due to you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll keep an eye out for that one, because that one's going to be kind of hot off the presser and everything. So we'll keep an eye out for that one.